Here we are back with Back to the Basics number 2. If you remember last time we talked about the drive, well, we've come off of the tee box, we've come up to where our drive landed, and so now it's time to talk about the approach shot. So there's a couple of different things that you have to keep in mind. Number one, because we're going to a very specific spot, the basket here, where we land is super important. On a drive, really all you're trying to do is get to the clear spot. But now we have to focus on what our putt's gonna look like and all of that sort of stuff. So I wanna take you through what I'm thinking as I step up to my approach shot. So I've got a little over 200 feet here, and it's pretty wide open. So I can go with a straight on shot, I can go with a hyzer shot, some people might choose to go with a flick shot. At this point, you want to go with whatever is most comfortable for you. Remember, being confident in what you're about to do is always important on your disc golf game. You've got to be trusting that you can pull off the shot that you're about to attempt. So for me, I'm going to go with a little bit of a hyzer shot. Now, I feel confident in my putt about 30 feet and in. It's important to remember when you're approaching a basket, I don't have to put it right on the pole. Because I feel confident in that 30-foot putt, that means that if I land within 30 feet of the basket on any side, I'm going to be into my confidence zone. So that gives me a 60-foot wide circle here that I'm aiming for. What that ends up doing, thinking about it that way, gives me a lot more confidence in this shot. Now, the second thing to consider is not just where I'm going to land as far as the distance go, but what sort of obstacles are there near the basket. For this particular one, I've got a tree about 20 feet behind the basket and to the right. So that means that is the one spot I do not want to land. I want to keep it short and left if possible to make sure I stay away from that tree. I also want to factor the wind in. On this particular shot, I've got a headwind, and I like to have tailwind putts. So I'm going to actually try to throw it a little bit past the basket, but because that tree is on the right side, I'm going to try to land a little bit past the basket and to the left. So for me, I'm going to be coming in with a right-handed hyzer approach shot. So I'm actually going to try to land it right near the basket, knowing that I'm going to skip a little bit, and that's going to give me the putt that I'm looking for. Now, if when I hit the ground, if it doesn't skip at all and it just sticks, well, great, I'm right next to the basket. If I would get so lucky as to hit the pole or something, great, I'm right there. But I'm putting myself in the position where I can feel the most confident so that I can get up and down from right here. So in my mind, when I'm working on my approach shot, when I'm thinking about what I want to do, I'm thinking about how far away I want to land, what direction I want to land, and what obstacles to avoid. If you keep these things in mind on your approach, you'll be able to get up and down, and you'll be able to do it with confidence every time.
Okay, so this is what I think about when I step up to an upshot. At first, I think about the wind, how fast it's going, what direction it's coming from, if there's any at all. And with this particular shot, it's a pretty wide open shot, and the wind is changing out here. So, you know, it really depends on when I'm going to step up and when I'm actually going to throw. And that is kind of when I'll make the ultimate decision, because right now the wind's changing. If the wind's pretty low and it's a straight open shot, I will throw my putter. In order to get the distance, I really make sure that I throw the putter high enough, because like the higher you throw the putter, the more glide it'll get. So I definitely make sure that I'm getting the distance that I need, so I'm throwing my putters a little bit higher. But if there's like really a pretty strong gust of wind, I probably won't choose my putter, because you know putters are naturally understable, so they'll flip over or they're just not that consistent when the wind picks up. So for this particular shot, I would throw a hyzer because it's wide open and I can trust it. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking in terms of the wind. And if there's a tailwind, I mean, I'll still throw my putter, but usually if there's any side wind or a headwind, I will go to a different mid-range. But if it's a wide open shot, it'll be a mid-range that hyzers. That's what I would do. Also, what I take into consideration is like the obstacles around it. So you want to make sure you avoid hitting, you know, anything that will, you know, prohibit you from getting as close to the basket as you can. So for this shot, there is a tree that is deep and right, and really that's not really going to be an issue for me, because for me, when I throw up shots, sounds kind of weird, but I try to be just short of the basket. I feel like going long, it's just not really, I just try to get to the basket. I don't try to go like at the basket, if that makes sense. So really my goal is to be short and to get it right up next to the pin. So really that won't be an issue for me. But I mean, in other cases, if there's something around the basket, I just want to make sure that I am avoiding those obstacles. And then another thing that I take into consideration is what stance I have available for me. So sometimes your footing might be a little messed up, and you really got to make the adjustments. And if you're, having to, stand a little bit wider or anything like that, that will affect my disc choice and how I sort of approach the basket. But really, for this particular shot, it is pretty wide open. So if the wind was dying down, I would throw my putter a little bit high, like I said before, and a little bit to the left, because I know that I'm going to put enough power onto it to where it'll go to the right and kind of flip over at the end and go to the basket. And right now it's kind of a headwind, the left to right-ish. I would throw my Justice wide and right and pretty far to the right, because I want to throw it high and I know the wind's going to pick it up and push it further to the left. So for this shot, I would take my Justice and aim high and right, and because I can know that I can trust the wind to push my disc towards the basket. And again, I'm aiming a little bit short of the basket, because just for me, that's what I'm comfortable with, and that's where I feel comfortable with. And my comfortable putt range should be 30 feet, but it's probably about 20-25 feet. So as long as I'm in that range, I think I'm going to be fine. But really, my goal is to be just a little bit short of the basket. And with that tree being in the way, that is, I think, within my range. I think maybe that tree is 25 feet away. So I do kind of want to take that into consideration, but I mean, it really shouldn't be a problem.